Hey guys, welcome back to episode 2 of the Kurious Kast. My name is Charles Coetzee. I'm your host and co-owner of Kurious Group. Today, I'd like to happily introduce Sash Aptaker from Aptaker and Associates. Sash is the owner of Aptaker and Associates, which is a licensed real estate agency that operates out of Sydney's North Shore and services the whole of Sydney's North Shore. Thanks for being on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me. It's nice to actually be here. Charles is looking into your eyes and thinking, gosh, you're a good-looking guy.
I thought the same thing about you.
Let's do it, mate.
So,
Thanks for having me anyway.
No, I'm glad you're here, and I'm very happy to have you here to talk about your story and kind of tell everyone where you started and kind of a bit of your journey.
I'm on it. Well, let's see if it's that exciting. But
Let's hope so. We don't want everybody falling asleep halfway through the podcast. So tell me, Sash, or tell the audience. I know you probably better than most, but probably not as good as you know yourself. So tell everybody kind of a bit of who you are and kind of what you do, and we'll start there, I guess.
So I'm a real estate agent. That's what I am. In the Upper North Shore, you've already described that. I have my own business, my own brand, but I didn't start that way. So obviously, this is the last 5 years of my journey.
Yeah.
I'm getting on, mate. Not as young as you, like now early 40s. And
Yeah, look at that. You don't look a day over 30, Sash.
thanks, mate. I didn't just wake up real estate agent. So it took a little bit of time.
So tell the audience probably a little bit about that process of I remember one day I saw you selling cars, and then I remember
Came into a car dealership.
I remember in a
Down on my luck, and I tried to sell cars.
yeah trying to sell me a car, I think. And then I remember me and you did leave quite an impression on me. And then I remember one day I was driving up the North Shore and I just see your head on a for sale sign, and I was like, when did you start selling houses? So,
Mate, a lot of people thought that.
yeah,
So you want to know what happened?
yeah,
So I think to start at the start, I'll summarise is left school in year 10, 11, bit of a dropout. Quite frankly, probably asked to move on politely. And I didn't enjoy school. It was boring to me. I was more keen to get out there and try and, live the dream of most kids of just retiring at 30. I don't know.
that's exactly how I felt when I was in school.
So I was 18, 17, 18, and I'm like, I don't know why I'd need to stay at school, because if I leave now, I should be done earlier and I'll be retired. So that's kind of what happened. I'm late 90s, first job in telecommunications. So I was 18, 19. Mate, fast forward just quickly, I had my own business selling mobile phones to large corporate businesses by the age of 20, making great money.
Wow.
So it's on my first business. Then decided I wanted to become a real estate agent. Went and spent a year or two at TAFE, doing a business management diploma, getting ready to sell real estate. I had dreams of working for McGrath at the time. Cut a long story short, man, I didn't follow my dreams and I ended up doing a whole lot of other stuff. And then 20 years later, I ended up finally
Well, I know in
There's a 20-year gap.
well, I know in between that gap, you probably owned a couple of other businesses.
Yeah, I tried all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Succeed, failed, tried other stuff. Never really found my thing. And I think we'll talk about that today, because I think I've got some good insight into why it took me 20 years to do what I actually wanted.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably the most important part of the story, especially for the viewers.
I can summarise that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fear. I think sometimes you know what you want to do. You know what it is and what it'd look like if you could have the life you want. But the reality is it's the belief in yourself. It's the fear of what could go wrong. It's all of that stuff. And at the end of the day, I went and tried a whole lot of other stuff to avoid what I knew would be hard bloody work, high risk, possibly wouldn't work. And I guess I didn't want to know that my fantasy of being, a real estate agent and all of that stuff wouldn't work out. So I just avoided it for a very long time.
It's the fear of failure. It's not.
Fear of failure.
Yeah.
20 years of it.
Yeah, it can be crippling.
So well, it was.
Yeah.
So I guess eventually, the key to success for me, or the key to success can be, defined in all kinds of ways. First step of success is actually giving it a go.
Yeah.
I think
You don't want to live your life with regrets, do you?
so. That's it. So basically, the success for me came in just actually saying, "Fuck it." You know what? I got to give it a go. I don't want to die going, shit, I wonder if what would have happened if I just given it a go.
Yeah, and even from my own personal experiences, you find that when you do kind of give it a go, at least most of the time, you kind of get into it and then you realize to yourself, oh, fuck, it wasn't as bad as I made it out to be in my head sometimes. Or it's worse.
Yeah, so I think, well, that's a good point there.
Yeah.
It's like, I think if you want something, I guess, first it's okay, what does it look like? What do I really want? How much do I want it? And the reality is if you really want those things and you're resilient and you persevere and you don't have a plan B, I think that was the most important thing. It took me 20 years in the workforce, running other businesses for other people, starting my own, doing other jobs to burn all of the boats, as they say. So I don't have a plan B. This has to work for me. And the reality was that had to be my journey, because if I'd started doing this when I was 20, I think at the first sign of, oh shit, it might not work, I would have just given up.
Yeah.
But I don't have any other options at this point in my head. Like, I have to make this work, which is a nice place to be.
Yeah, well, from what I've seen, it looks like things are working and they're going in the right direction. But, onto that and that journey that you had with, your career and running different businesses and working for different people, real estate aside, when in your professional career did you really feel, or not so much feel, but notice that sales was such an important part of it? Like, because me personally, when I look at, and professionally, when I look at the way everything kind of works in life, it's all very transactional. And it's like, well, everything can kind of be looked at in the sense of it being a sale, right? So when did you realize that sales, or just knowing how to sell and having that communication skill to be able to do that, was such an important thing?
I think if I'd be upfront, is I've never done anything but sell stuff.
Yeah.
So I've either managed, run, started businesses, but the reality is my key part in the business was always sales. I was brought up by a sales guy. That's how and the reality is I don't think I am a natural salesperson. I think, as contrary to popular belief, and as loud as we are on social media and in people's, like, just in general as personalities, I think deep down I'm shy, I'm introverted, and I forced myself to be that person. I was brought up to know that, no one likes a salesman that doesn't talk and has no energy and doesn't, can't communicate. So that's not going to work. So how did I know and when did I know? I think pretty much from a very young age. Hence why I left school. I thought, well, I don't need any qualifications to go sell stuff. It was just something, I think I just was brainwashed into that from a very young age, that there isn't many other options. Sales is what you can make money in. If you become good at it, you make a lot of money. Quite easy, low point of entry. You don't have any study or qualifications. You can leave school and you can get straight into it.
But as low of a point of entry as it is, it really does come down to that mindset that you had, where you really need to understand that, you do need to give this a proper crack. You can't be that really vanilla, really low energy kind of person trying to sell. Yeah. A lot of people just don't get that. As well, as low as the point of entry is, there's so many more failures in sales than there is successes.
I think the problem is that, as you know, you can walk into any shop, someone can be average, they'll keep their job. Providing they come to work on time, providing they don't say something nasty to the boss, they're probably not going to go anywhere. They'll keep them on board in these bigger businesses. I think
you do see it a lot in dealerships.
Yeah, car dealerships, great example. I used to run one. I ran a sales team. We had 20 staff, 20 sales guys, probably 100 other staff. And there was a lot of average performers in there. And there were some that were really less than average. But the fact is, the good ones level out the bad ones.
They carry them.
Yeah. So you can it's a great job for someone to plug along.
Yeah, and kind of hide. Yeah.
It's a good job. But it can also be, an amazing job with amazing income and amazing possibilities for people that can master it. So I think, I'm still not there. I think you know, every day I say, well, what did I learn from the last listing that I lost? You know, what did I do wrong? How could I have done better? How did that guy beat me on this? What did was our marketing looking good? Was our presentation okay? You know, I think a lot of people get smacked in the face in sales and then they're depressed for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I lost probably hundreds of thousands of dollars last week in listings that I didn't pick up that were close. And I didn't cry in my suit all weekend. I still had a nice weekend. I worked. I'm here today with you.
That's definitely the mentality you got to have. It's not like, oh, I lost the listing or didn't make that sale, but it's more so, what could have I done better? Where did I go wrong? And where can I improve?
Yeah, and it's even, and if you want to peel back the onion a little bit more, you go, I won because I actually had a chance.
Yeah.
Because a year ago, 2 years ago, I wasn't even in the living room. I was not in the dining room sitting down with John and Jane saying, love to sell your house. Fast forward a couple of years, I've got the opportunity, but I missed it. So the trend is kind of, you know, a couple of years' time is saying, well, I'm in there and I'm listing them all and everything's good and I can't miss, you know, because it's constantly getting better and better.
It's definitely true. Like, being able to have that continuous development is the only way forward, regardless what you do, whether it's business, sales, and they kind of go hand in hand with each other. But, you know, like whenever you see someone stop and go, I'm the fucking best, it's generally when the shit's about to hit the fan.
I think I'd be scared, man. Like, I mean, I met some people, I'm interviewing some people at the moment, and they're all telling me I'm a great real estate agent. But at the moment, for me personally, I've got so long to go. You know, I want to make more money. I want to sell more properties. I want to make it a little bit more sustainable and automatic. I love it, but it's a constant refinement of skills, like anyone, like a sport, like fucking making yourself have massive arms, all that kind of stuff.
So tell us, I'll tell the audience probably a bit more about that journey. Like you said, you know, you were 20 years old when you got your real estate license.
Yeah, I was 21.
Yeah. But then you didn't pursue it and you went elsewhere and kind of came back.
Yeah,
so tell us a bit about that, because like a lot of people who you know have a really great idea, or, you know, a really strong mission of kind of what they want to do. You know, fear cripples them, or the doubt that they can do it cripples them.
I think
and they kind of go elsewhere and don't really pursue what they should.
The third one that got me. So I had the fear, I had the doubt. So that obviously comes down to a lack of belief.
Yeah.
But then also along the way, you'll get carrots put in front of you by all kinds of people. So example, you know, when I got my course, I had the belief, I genuinely did think I could be an amazing real estate agent at the age of 21 and still think it would have worked out. I'm not sure what would have happened if I got smacked over it for the 100th time at the age of 21. I don't think I could have handled it, but I still think it could have worked out. So the belief wasn't there entirely, because the second I went for a job interview, I'll be upfront, I thought it was a real estate agency that I was going to for a job at. It said real estate marketing professional wanted, et cetera, and I rocked up there, and it was a very charismatic guy. Felt like a real estate agent, but he actually owned a real estate marketing company. He worked for real estate agents in relation to helping them look better, sound better, their signs, their brochures, their corporate identity, everything about them, help them do all of that. He said, man, here's the job, here's the company card, here's the salary, here's the commission. And at the time, it probably was twice what a real estate agent would probably earn in his first few years. And I said, you know what? Fuck the dreams. I'll take it. So that's how easily bored I was. So dreams and goals weren't clear enough. My desire and belief, so desire to attain those goals, my belief within myself was obviously not strong enough, because the first person that put something in front of me that possibly made my life a little bit easier and less risk was more risk adverse, I took it.
Well, that's generally, I think, what happens with a lot of people. It's like
most people, if you ask them why
they want the security.
No idea.
Yeah, but a lot of them just like, you know, they might have a dream or something big that they really want to do in their life, but whether it's work or even personally. But a lot of the time, the thing that gets them is just like the fear of taking that leap. Like, you know, and when they take, sometimes, you know, you have this security in your life, whether it be like a really securely paying job or, you know, whether it's a relationship thing or whatever it is. And that the security or the ideology of that security stops you from doing what you really want to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that gets worse and worse. It compiles because the job that I don't like doing pays me more and more.
Mm-hmm.
I get more comfortable and more comfortable. I reduce the goals and dreams around me. So the house that was meant to be this big now becomes this big.
Yep.
The car that was meant to be worth $1 million is now 50 grand.
Yep.
The holidays that were meant to be 3 months a year are now 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
So I've compressed my visions of what life I wanted it to look like and my free time, because I've thrown that out the window because I drive 2 hours to work, 2 hours home. I work 10 hours plus overtime, plus weekends, plus the boss is calling me outside of work, plus I'm just stuck in traffic all day and life's pretty shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I've kind of given up on what life should look like, but I've got to pay the bills. Man, maybe that's how it's meant to be. And I think you can get into that. And the older you get, then you chuck a mortgage on top, you throw some commitments, kids. How do you get out of that?
Yeah.
And that becomes, instead of just leaving home and going, I want to become a blah blah and follow my dreams with no real commitments or dramas, you start to acquire responsibilities, costs, and it becomes very hard to get out of it all.
Yeah.
So that, I guess, not that that's a message of it. I think, you know, the old cliche thing that people say is do it when you're young, but no one listens, right? And it's not that easy because when you're young, you can't buy experience.
No.
You don't really know. So,
You need to have a learning process.
and the learning process for me, I think there are some people that leave school, know exactly what they want, and maybe through a great upbringing or self-improvement themselves or really focusing in on themselves, just have a natural ability to say, you know what, I'm going to focus and I'm going to follow my dreams from day one.
Some people do get it a lot quicker and a lot easier than others. And like I know from, you know, you sharing a bit of your story, and I know even from my story, that necessarily wasn't the case. Kind of had to figure shit out as I went.
Yeah. Well, mate, you do.
Yeah.
So, mate, I was 39.
And that's the majority of people. So, you know, when you see like this 21-year-old that's this massive success and they're a billionaire and they've done all this, hats off to them. But like they're not the majority. They're the very select few.
I'd say it's interesting though, like when you said that, and I agree with that, but there's something interesting there. So if I look at how my life was when I was 30, 35, income I wanted, everything I wanted, but I was totally upset with it.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I'm 21 and I've kicked a goal and I've made $1 million selling some shit online or whatever it might be, right? Crypto, whatever. Doesn't mean necessarily I've just achieved success or fulfillment in my life. So I think, as some of my mentors says, don't judge, you know, your insides by people's outsides. And I think that's an important thing, because I know along the way to onlookers, I've had success. Inside, the day I succeeded was the day I said, enough's enough. I want to go back to my 21-year-old self that wanted to do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off and I'm going to do it. And that was an 18-year journey to get to that point of just saying, I'm going to do what I wanted to do 20 years back. And I think that to me is the change. Like, that was the best part, is finally going, fuck, I know what I want to do. I've always wanted to do it. I've got the belief in myself. Fuck the fear. Let's go.
So Sash, this kind of leads me to my next question, and it's a really important one for our viewers in particular, is when did you know exactly what the mission was?
Yeah.
And how important is it to sell yourself on the mission, but not just yourself, but your team? The reason I ask this is the first time that me and you spoke, when, you know, I'd known that you'd opened this agency, you sat down and you explained to me exactly what the mission was. And you didn't just sell me on that you sell houses, you sold me on exactly what it is that you do. And I remember you saying to me, and I vividly remember this, is, you know, you said, I don't just sell houses, I get you where you want to go. So I help you facilitate the whole sales process and also help you, even if we have to help you find where you need to go. Yeah. So most agents will sell your house, get as much money as they can, and do the runner. And you probably don't see it if they do that, right? Yeah. If they do that. Whereas I remember when we spoke and you said to me, and I know this from my own experiences selling houses before, is when you've got an agent who really does give a shit, and they are not just there to sell your house or sell you a house, but they're there to facilitate the whole process and essentially hold your hand through it, because, you know, it is probably the most, you know, daunting, you know, and probably the most responsible thing you'll do in your life is probably buy a property, especially in a place like Sydney where it's so expensive. So, you know, tell me a bit about that as far as, you know, how important is it to not just sell yourself on the mission, but sell your team on the mission, so everyone's on board and everyone knows what we're here to do, because it's not selling houses, there's a lot more to it.
I think there's a bit there, Charles, and listening to you, I guess if you'd asked me those questions a year ago, I would have given you a different answer.
Yeah.
I think that's the truth. So I think there's an answer in that in itself. Is pretty much daily I wake up and I try and visualize what it's meant to look like, where we're going. I'm looking at, you know, really trying to clarify in my mind what it is I do, what it is we need to do as a business, where we're going, what it looks like, what are the actions we need to take. And you're constantly, refining and drilling down on it, because, you know, like they say, if you can't see it, you can't make it happen. End of story. So I think the vision's changed a bit over time, but the one core thing that you mentioned there, which still rings true, is we help people get where they want to go.
Yeah.
So I think it does become transactional. I think, you know, a lot of agents out there, and I can't speak for anyone, but my gut feel would be a lot of real estate agents pop up, and I get them too. I get phone calls. Sash, come in. We've decided we want to sell our house. That's not my client. They've already made the decision. Whatever mistakes they've made, they've already made them most of the time. Oh, yeah, we've decided we want to sell, but we already bought. Okay. Well, so what do you need me to do? Just put it on and sell it. You know, we'll do it, but the reality is we meet people way before to, help them. Should they sell it? Should they rent it? Why are they selling it? Why now? All of that stuff. Where are you going? How are you going to do it? There is two parts to the equation. Plus there's like a myriad of things in between: finance, mortgages, advice from your accountant, all this stuff. And I think it is overwhelming. I think if done incorrectly, it can be a nightmare.
Definitely.
So my main ambition, or my main mode, is when I meet a new owner, a new client, hate calling them vendors as well. Have you heard that word, vendor?
Yeah.
What do you reckon as a person that watches the market, and if an agent goes on my vendor?
It just sounds a bit too like transactional, like you said. Yeah.
I don't even like using the word listing, but, you know, someone told me when I first got into real estate, whatever you do, don't become a real estate agent. Don't learn the lingo. Don't talk like one. It's so hard not to. Anyway, I've gone off sideways, but I'm going to tell you something. So, you know, my main motivation when I meet someone, I treat it like a sport. I hate to say it's not transactional for me, but if I was selling your house, the main thing that I want to do is first understand what's your motivation and help you get there. Wherever you're going, I want to help you get there. I want to give you a solution and a roadmap to get from where you are now to where you're going. Usually that includes a whole lot of moving parts, a purchase at one end, and obviously selling your house for a maximum price. That's it. I genuinely, and I hate to say it's not entirely to impress you or make you feel good. My value is do the best job possible. You know, I want to get the best price possible. That is first and foremost. Nearly every transaction that I've ever done over the last few years, hundreds of them, there was probably a point where the owner said to me they're happy to sell the house. And there's been anywhere from 100,000 or even maybe an extra 20 to an extra $1 million that I've sold it above what they would have taken. That's not because I wanted to, I don't know if it's to say it's because I want to do the right thing. I don't know about that. I think it's just genuinely, that's our job, to do the best thing by the owner.
Definitely.
So I think values are at the core. I enjoy it. I think it's a sport. Like I said, it's like, let's get better and better at this. So you've got this massive thing is to get them a great price. But then again, there's all this other stuff. The amount of people we've helped secure the next house, give them great financial advice, or put them in contact with someone, and they've just worked out. Like I met a guy the other day that didn't even realize he'd have to pay capital gain if he offloaded a house. When spoke with the accountant, he's like, "Man, I can't sell this." I said, "No shit." Like, I could have just clicked the ticket, made 50 grand and moved on.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the right thing. So
No. But that speaks, volume to what you do.
Born with that shit,
Yeah.
right? You're brought up that way.
Correct.
I don't think you can teach that.
No.
You
That's got to be in you. But in saying that, like, when I hear you talk about what it is that you do, you don't start with selling house. You start with the whole process.
what
And-
the person's current situation?
But how important is what you just told me? One, obviously it's very important to sell to yourself, because you got to sell yourself on what you're here to do. But how important is it to sell your team on that same mission?
Mate, I think that's a good one in itself, because I got to be upfront with you. That's been a struggle.
Yeah.
Getting the right people on board that actually that has been a struggle. And I think a lot of the time it doesn't work out. A year and a half or two into this, I've now got a list of things and requirements that, and values and non-negotiables that every single staff member that comes on in our business has to have. And if they've got all that stuff, then selling them on the vision and getting them to get into the vehicle is not that difficult.
No.
That makes sense. It is important that everyone sings from the same hymn book, but I think that comes down to getting the right people on board. So again, a year and a half ago, you asked me, very important. Make sure everyone's on board. Make sure we turn everyone into, carbon copies of me. The reality is now, when I look at it, it's hiring the right people. How do you do that? Have a list of non-negotiables. Have a really, I guess, I hate to say it, excruciating onboarding process and hiring process. That means the guy that comes on board, they're the right people.
So someone very wise told me that one day. He said, hire slow, fire fast. Yeah.
100%. So answers changed. How do you make sure that everyone around you is on the vision? Well, I think you've got to put it out there. What we're putting out here today, someone will see. They'll say, "You know what? I liked what that guy had to say." You start to attract the things that you want. So I think it's important that the people around you know what you're doing and your vision.
Mm-hmm.
Our jobs as leaders is to have a vision and then obviously be able to translate that vision to other people, and then they can make a decision whether they want to be part of it or not. Yeah. So you've got to have clarity around your vision, and then you really, because if you ask most people out there, and I've had them, I don't mind saying I've gone through heaps of stuff that all want everything. I want to make money. I want to be successful. I want to be all these things.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is, everyone does. If you give someone a job and say, "I'm going to make you successful," they'll say, "I'll take it." So it's not really answering your question, because I think there is two parts to that. I think if you find the right people, it's not that hard
To sell them on the mission.
No.
And I totally agree with you. It's make sure fundamentally their foundations as a person needs to be in the right place. If you've got that right person there, it's definitely a lot easier to sell them on the mission. You don't even really have to sell them. You just got to tell them what it is, and they're generally on board.
But that's been my experience, right? Like and not to get too full on into it, but like I can make this business make money with anyone, but it's not sustainable. It's not enjoyable. It becomes tiring. I can turn any person you give me into $1 million real estate agent, nearly anyone. But the problem is, are they going to be around for the next 5 to 10 years after I invest 2 years into them? So what I've learned, and I've done it before, is, I've had people move on, but they usually move on to other industries. couldn't quite hack it, or they haven't burnt their boats. They hadn't made that full decision that this is what they want to do. So over the last couple of years, I've started to learn more about the non-negotiables. You know, have you decided that you want to make this career? You know, real estate as your career? Yes or no? Oh, I'm not sure. I've got some other options. Not for me, right? So there's a list. You know, there is a list. Are these guys positive? Are they growth mindset? Are they trustworthy? Are they mentally stable? Like, I mean, there's a list of it, and it's taken me, you know, some trial and error to work out what it all is. Not to say like any of us are mentally stable, but I think there's degrees of it, right?
Yeah.
I don't want people with baggage. I don't want negative people. And that's why that hiring process has to be correct. So I think, in answer to your question, like you summed up, bring on the right people, and the vision's easy. But you got to have clarity of your vision. So as long as you can understand it,
Couldn't have said it better myself.
and articulate it,
Yeah.
and then you put the right people in the place, I don't think there's much to it.
It's not. Yeah.
But the awareness of that, I think, to get a clarity of your vision, that isn't that simple either. Who you are, who you're not, in relation to the people you're bringing on, who are they and who are they not, being really, really defined on that. Like, I had a candidate that a recruiter gave me the other day. A year ago, I would have hired him, but he was missing a component. And it wasn't that hard. It was like, fuck it, I can't hire him. But you learn through your mistakes. And that's, you know, like everything else we've talked about. You know, you fall down, you learn from it. And I guess that comes from that growth mindset. How do I get better and better and better and better?
And speaking of that growth, like when did you realize, after you'd taken that leap and you'd opened this business and you'd done something that most real estate agents won't do, and that is detach yourself from a big brand, right? They all get scared. Oh, I've got to be attached to this big brand. They've got a book, and you know, all this mythical book, and you know, yeah, exactly. So, when did you, after taking that leap, realize this has got legs? Like, you know, was it straight away? Was it like you might have had a little bit of stumbling, had to find your feet, and maybe think to yourself, oh, you know, start doubting yourself a little bit, and then something happened where you thought, you know what, this has got legs and it can work?
I think that's a good question too, but like, if I was to try and give you an answer on it, it's, I'm constantly going down, you know, like, it's all good when things are going good, and then something happens and you doubt yourself. You got to catch yourself. But the reality is this: if you can do it once, so, you know, started the business, my own brand. I'd only been selling real estate for a few years at a time. You know, some of these, usually, like if I look at the natural trends, like the natural process of guys becoming standalone real estate agents, it takes them 5 to 10 years before they do that. And then maybe 10 years later, they look at starting a business. You know, that's kind of and there's a few exceptions to the rule, but I guess I'd been selling real estate for a few years. I'd listed and sold houses. I'd got great results. So the belief's there that I can do that. Did I really have any belief that without a brand behind me, I could do it or not? Not really. I thought it might be harder to convince people, but that was about the only negative. You know, maybe I'll walk in and they go, I didn't really want to use you because you're not a big brand. Then you get a deal done without the brand. Then your belief, you know, it's that cycle. You know, results affect your beliefs, then your beliefs change your actions, and your actions change your results, and the results change your belief. And that's a cycle. So, you know, took some action, sold a property under my own brand. I say to myself, shit, I can do this. I should be able to do it again. Did it again. The results went to the belief, said, hey, guess what, man? Like, you've done it twice now, not a big deal. And that's the cycle, and that gets you that momentum. But it's all about, you know, getting the results, telling yourself you can do it again.
And then, like, if you look at that just being, you know, the whole detach yourself from a big brand, right? Part of the appeal to that big brand, especially with real estate, is it's not just, you know, it's not just the fact of that big black scary book that everyone says they've got and they can get you the, you know, they promise you the world. It's like kind of what comes behind it, whether it be like marketing, whether it be like your trust accounting, all that stuff, right? So a lot of people don't, especially in business, regardless what business they're in, they're always looking at their team as in, who physically works for them in their office. Right? But
just part of it.
But that's only one, exactly. So that's only one part of it. So how important to you and your business is it ensuring that you've got the right team, whether it be the right accountants that you work with, whether it be the right marketing guys you work with, like all that stuff? How does that all tie into each other? And how important are those factors to allow you to do your job correctly?
It's very important. I mean, like that's probably the first, I guess to us we take it as a given, but even if you're an employee working for someone, they always say to you, who's your accountant? Have you got a good accountant? Have you got a good solicitor? You got a good financial advisor? You got a good plumber? You got a good electrician? Like, you've got to be surrounded by people. I think it's this thing that we get into business. It's the same thing. Who's my accountant? Where am I getting financial advice? Who's my solicitor? Because I tell you what, on a day-to-day basis, legalities come up, whether it's with employees, clients, providers. You're reading contracts, you're signing crap all day long that you probably should or shouldn't. You need these people around you. And then it comes down to other services, productive stuff like marketing. Well, no one's got time to do this shit themselves.
A lot of people try though, like
But
it is, but not everyone sees that foresight. That's why I asked the question.
Ideally, you shouldn't do anything yourself.
Yeah.
But you've got to be involved. So you've got to be able to, I think, looking at if you look at your external suppliers, marketing, so you've named three main ones: marketing, accounting, let's call it legals.
Yeah.
Your job as a business owner is to be across all that stuff. And, you need to understand how all of that stuff functions and works. So there is some onus on the business owner to know what he's doing to a certain degree and what he wants. But it's made a lot easier if we've got people around us, good marketing guys, good accountants that are in your corner to help you get where you want to go.
Yeah.
And I think for a small business owner, I think there's an old saying, you don't have to be big, you got to look fucking big. So marketing's a big part of that.
Yeah, definitely. Like you see it all the time, and these business owners, especially small business owners, where they think they might not have the budget to do so, instead of, whether you're a plumber or an electrician, say you're a plumber.
Yeah.
Your craft is being able to service that client and fix whatever it is to do that's related to plumbing, right? You're not a marketer, right? You either bring someone into your team, you pay them on the books to do your marketing, or you get an agency. And having the right people to do that is so important, because like if you're there trying to do your own marketing, for example, how are you going to focus on what you're good at, the whole reason you're in business? But a lot of people don't have that foresight.
I think, mate, you know what? It's so easy to, what's scarcity and abundance. We've talked about that before.
Scarcity mindset.
Yep. So if I am trying to watch every dollar and I'm worried about every single dollar, and I don't think I'm going to be able to make it, and I'm always scared and I'm always worried financially, and I'm trying to, penny pinch from everyone and whatever it might be, then you coming along and saying you want to pay for your marketing would be a dumb idea. But then again, if I said to the same person, are you, I could give you some examples, man. Like if you are, and I'm probably upset a few people with this, but let's have a crack anyway. So realistically, I don't do my garden, right? I probably pay a guy $75 an hour to spend 3 hours a week in it, 4 hours. So it cost me $300 to gain 4 hours of my week back. And I don't have any spare time. So I've just purchased 4 hours of spare time for $300.
Which is nothing. If you look at it, nothing.
Right? Now, what can I do with that? I can spend time with my kids and my family. For $300 to sit with my family, play ping pong, do whatever, rather than go and do the gardening, it's worth it. To go and, I know that I'm worth more than $75 an hour if I actually go and do some work. because I can't find anyone that will do my job for $75 an hour. There's absolutely no way in the world. There's no way in the world that any real estate agent is going to come along and say, man, I'll do it for $75 an hour. You just go and hang out with your kids. It's not going to happen. So if you take that example, you say, cool, right? And then you put it right across the board. Again, some people think it's like, wait, who is this? Like, what's wrong with this guy or family? But I don't, my wife used to go, she works with me now. If we look at our day or our weeks and really work out how much productive time we have, you take away sleep and you take away some family time, you've only got a limited amount of time left. You've got a business that needs to produce income. If I was to do my own marketing, well, I've probably lost maybe, there goes half the week, right? So now I'm half as productive. And that's if I can do it good. That's if I can pull it together somehow.
It's not your craft.
Man, I couldn't be fucked anyway. Even if I was great in it, I still wouldn't do it. You got to make a decision on what you are actually going to do in that business. Are you going to be on top of it, making it work, plus playing a key function in it? Or are you just going to do whatever and everything and just hope for the best? So I think, like anything in life, you need to protect your time, employ the right people or get the right people to take. So
Have the right team internally and externally.
I'm very good at maths. I could do my quarterly BAS statements.
Yeah.
But like,
It's not what you do.
why would you do that?
No.
I know business owners that do it. They're proud of saying, surely you've met them before.
I have.
Mate, I do all that myself.
And I look at her, I'm like, I wouldn't be proud of that.
How long do you reckon it take, honestly, though?
Look, even if it took you 3 hours, right? It would.
Take like a week.
But let's say it took you 3 hours to do it, right? In that 3 hours, you could have just signed another person and there's another 50, 100 grand in commission that you didn't have before.
I think for real estate, it's a pretty good example. I mean, you know what? If you're really good at this and you're writing $1 million a year, let's call that 20 grand a week. So you can pay your accountant a couple of grand to do his quarterly BAS, or you can go and make 20 grand. You can pay you some money to help with marketing and blah, 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 blah. The opportunity cost is 20, 30, 40 grand.
You really need that abundance mindset. You can't always be thinking in a scarcity. Oh, what if I spend this? How am I going to... You've got to just make sure you got the right people and you've got to commit.
That said, Charles, it's a suggestion,
Mm.
I think that's the other thing I've learned. Not everyone wants everything, There are guys out there that are like, they're just happy to just do everything. And I don't know if it's our jobs to try and change that vision, but I think there are some that are not enlightened yet.
No.
So there's some that you'll never change?
To be honest, I think there's more than some. I think there's a big majority of them that haven't figured it out. Because if most small business owners had figured it out, they'd all be flying. But the truth is, like, not everyone's in that same boat. And not everyone has that mindset where it's like, well, how about I just allocate my time and my own resources into the part of the business where I know I can make the most amount of money, and then just go and say, okay, you're my marketer, you're my accountant, you're my lawyer, you do what you do best. I'll pay you top dollar to do what you do best, whatever that is. You just make sure that I get the desired result out of it so I can go over here and I can build my business.
Yeah.
But not everyone thinks that simple.
I think it's because they don't have clarity around, they haven't stopped and said, what do I really want in my life? Because if I stop and know exactly what I want in my life, for me personally, I want a business that's sustainable, profitable. It's growing and growing and growing. It doesn't just revolve around me. So and that's just high level. There's 100 other things. But if you just take that and ask yourself, shit, based on that, is it good if I'm doing everything? Probably not. A lot of people in small business, I think, have bought themselves a job. Real estate agents are the best at this. They make heaps of money until they can't do this anymore. And at the end of it, they will just hang up there, whatever they hang up when you're a real estate agent. It's not a gamble because that's an auctioneer. But You say, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. Your income ceases on that day. Same thing sometimes with the plumber, the one-man band, the builder, the brickie, whatever. But if he had huge volumes, he had staff, he had a big vision, he had multiple trucks on the road, his retirement might become semi-retired. He might just oversee it, but he's still making huge income for every year above, like until he dies, really. And even after he dies. I mean, that's the aim, is create a business that, you know, probably is around after you're gone.
Yeah, well, that's the real testament of the success of a business, is the way I look at it. Very, very similar to you, is, you know, it's not how great the business is doing when I'm here. It's when I take a step back and my team is the one that's performing, and how well did they do the job without me there? How well does that business operate? How well have I put in those procedures and that team, and how well have I assembled that team externally and internally to ensure that my business runs as its own ecosystem with or without me there to steer the ship?
And I think that's the fantasy, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if everyone wants. So firstly, you got to be aware that that could be a goal.
Yeah.
Right? That's the first step, to go, what do I really want? Spend the time going. And I guess for me personally, it was, what do I really want if I knew I couldn't fail, right? What do I really want? Not this shit of what do I want because I kind of think it's achievable. You know, becoming a real estate agent and making shitloads of money, that's achievable. But what after that?
Mm-hmm.
What would I want if I knew I couldn't fail? Well, I'd probably want a huge brand that goes across the country, maybe even the world. So why wouldn't you do that? Because it probably can't do it. So you make that decision of how big you want to get. What do I really, really want? Me personally, and this isn't for everyone, I want to be able to be involved in a business, choose how hard to work, not how hard to work, have freedom of choice on a daily basis, be able to maintain my level of income without any fear of insecurity, financial insecurity, multiple levels of passive income that can pay my living expenses. I don't want to have to wake up and worry about, shit, am I going to be able to pay the bills today? Ever. Even if certain parts of my business collapse, because it's sustainable, it's diversified. That takes time, and you definitely can't do that shit by yourself. But you can, by yourself, be able to pay the bills on a consistent basis while you're still alive and healthy. But if something goes wrong and you're doing all the shit yourself, the reality is...
That was very true. So, you know, you've given the audience a really good perspective of kind of the way you kind of see business and the way that you see that you need to assemble a team and have the mission and everything like that behind you. The one thing that you do very different than everybody is the way that you're portrayed online and the way that you manage your personal branding and the way that you put yourself out to the world. You're not the standard real estate agent. And ensure that this personality that people see online is really you. Like, you know, if I bumped into you walking down the street, you'd be no different to the guy that's in the video. So, like, how important was that for you that you don't fall into that stigma of like a standard real estate agent with the cheesy videos and you know, pulling up in a flashy car doing those, you know, cheesy videos that everyone cringes at, and just being yourself?
I got into real estate 4 or 5 years ago. It's always been, if you look through even my horrible videos at first, it was always authentic.
Mm-hmm.
I think because I don't really, and I've got to tone it, like, you've got to find what works for you, and you've also got to be aware that being totally authentic on a everyday basis, you got to choose your market and choose your time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a balance, and I'm still finding it. But it's a lot easier, I think, doing anything in this world, this conversation. You know, I could sit here right now, and so could you. We could be really polite, and we could pretend we're people we're not. People do that shit all the time.
It's very common.
Yeah. Okay. Or you just behave the way you want to behave.
Yeah.
You talk the way you talk, you act the way you act, and you're just authentic. You don't have to worry. It takes no energy to be authentic. So and the other thing is you attract people that will like you. So there's nothing worse. And in my early days, I'll be upfront. I think I was a little bit more like, I'm full of shit. Like a little bit more blue suit, blue tie, combed hair, shaved, all kinds of stuff. But it wasn't me. And then I'd walk in and I'd wonder why I have all these clients I don't like. You know, because you've thrown out a certain energy. They've bought you based on conservative real estate agents, standard, vanilla, all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you find yourself in the living rooms talking to people about their house, and it's awkward because these aren't your people. So what's the long-term vision? Have a whole lot of people that go, you know what, I like that guy and I want to work with him.
Yep.
Rather than have a whole lot of people that you've attracted just because you want to make money and you're surrounded by a whole lot of clients you don't like.
It's also people see through the bullshit. Like if you put on a persona online.
I don't know entirely though.
Well,
I reckon you can bullshit pretty good.
You can, but like I think if you're good at selling, you can bullshit pretty good.
That's the problem, right?
But like, but like there is a layer of like seeing through it. I think that comes into it, especially with social media. You know, regardless of industry, you always see these people. They put this persona online, and then you meet them in real life, or you might transact with them in their business in real life, and it's like you're not the same person. As much as you're trying, you are really not the same person that's in that video. So who the fuck are you really?
Mate, I've got to say, I know a few, and like I am shocked. Like I see people online, agents, and I meet them in person. The guy that I meet in person is a good guy. The guy that I see online is like everyone else. Same suit, probably goes to the same shit shop and buys it. The same shit car. Like it's all the same.
But the crazy thing is, if they were just that good person, that
they are when you meet them,
you'd probably do a lot better than just try to put on the persona.
Probably enjoy it more. You know, I reckon a lot of guys in every industry leave the industry, especially real estate, and I've had a few work with me that probably wanted to look like real estate agents. Or they've picked someone that they aspire to be that's not them. And they've tried to duplicate it.
Yeah.
But they're not being true to themselves.
No.
So they feel shit. They're imposters. And they are.
It is imposter
syndrome.
syndrome.
Someone said to me, I think I've got imposter. No, you're an imposter. If you're being someone you're not, you don't have imposter syndrome. You are an actual imposter.
Yeah.
That's why you have the syndrome, because you're full of shit. So be yourself, be authentic, see how it goes, and life's better. And that's whether you're in business or doing a podcast.
Yeah, I think no matter what you do, just...
Do you want to talk about what you do?
We can talk a little bit about that.
Because I think it's important, you know, because I've been sitting here thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
Before I met you, I've had a crack at social media and marketing for years in my business. Some of it I've done myself. I even had a full-time employee helping me out with it. So I guess the thing we should talk about, we don't have to talk about it, but probably a good thing is about what you do for me.
Yeah.
In a non-awkward, weird way. But I think it's important because I was sitting here, right? We're talking about small business. Then I'm thinking, well, why am I even sitting here with you? Well, because you're one of my main suppliers, partners in business. I guess to give people a bit of a view on, you know, well, what do these guys do together? Well, you handle my brand and awareness and production of everything that people see on social media about me and my business. Yeah?
Yeah, correct.
So, and it runs deeper than that, but like that's one thing in a nutshell. So if you reverse back a few years, I got into real estate like any other real estate agent. You grab a phone, you start talking at it, and you chuck shit online, and you do horrible things.
But you get some limited success with it.
Man, I got heaps of it.
Yeah.
But the thing was, to even take that video and then upload it and fucking type stuff about it, it adds up. And then before you know it, you stop doing it because you get busy and you stop doing it. And people go, I might used to like your social media. I don't have time for social media. Then you'd get back into it. Then you go, you know what? This isn't sustainable and viable, like we talked about earlier.
Yep.
So you go, I got the answer. And I'm going to tell you this is actually important for you and to talk to other people, you know, small businesses that you speak to. I went and sat down with a pretty cool guy. I was watching him on social media, and I'm like, how does this guy do so much social media? And I sat down with him. He was nice enough. You know, as they say, like, here's a bit of business advice. If you see someone doing well or you see something you like, how do you work it out instead of just ego, pride getting in the way? You reach out and you ask them, how do you do that? And this guy said to me, mate, I didn't even say that. I just said, mate, can I take you to dinner? Not in a weird way. Let's just go and have dinner. I want to get to know you.
Yeah.
You know? And he's like, no worries. He didn't say that's weird or anything like that. So we went for dinner, right?
Yeah.
We're eating away, and I said to him, man, how do you do all this shit on social media? He goes, what do you mean? I said, man, it's everywhere. It's amazing. How do you do it? And he goes, I just employed 3 staff to do it. And I'm like, ooh. I deep down probably thought before he told me that he was somehow pulling this off.
Yeah, well, that's what most people tell themselves when they see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we even think about influencers. We genuinely think they post it themselves. I think some of them do to a certain extent, but as they get bigger.
But that's also a full-time job in itself.
Correct. So an influencer, I've met people that want to be influencers until they work out how much shit they have to cut and paste.
It's a full-time job.
They're like, nah. I've met influencers that have probably, I think he's got close to 1 million followers on Facebook, TikTok, fucking everything. He hates it. He's busy. He doesn't know what to do with himself. But this guy's constantly creating content. That is his life. So if you say, well, I'm a real estate agent and I'm going to have to somehow create content, mate, like, back to the basics. Like, when are you going to be a real estate agent? So anyway, back to what I asked it. He says you need to bring on someone if you want to do this. And the light bulb went off because it's like that analogy we spoke about earlier. So go do the accounting yourself. Talked about I need to mow my own grass because it takes time. But when it came to social media, because it's so easy, it's a blind spot. So people go, I'll just do that myself. I can just do it myself. But they don't.
Yeah.
And even if they try, it's half-assed.
I think also people don't see most people don't entirely see the value that it does hold.
But that's a whole nother problem, right? So we'll talk about that. But I think just so we get the point across is I took what he said and I said, shit, that's what I've got to do. So I brought someone into the business. Their full-time job is to create content and pump it out on social media. The problem there is you can have someone that could use a camera, create content, but then they might not be able to know how to direct it. They've got no marketing background. So as much as we were very active on social and I got a lot of great feedback, I can honestly say that I listed and sold properties as a result. I now had another staff member who I had to mentor, train in something that I'm not an expert in. They had sick days. They turned up to work sometimes not. Sometimes depressed, sometimes not. Sometimes wanting to work, sometimes not. So you've now onboarded, you've got a new employee. You're starting to specialize in a field like accounting or law that I don't know anything about.
Mm-hmm.
I've got this staff member that barely knows about it. And we're creating a bit of noise and it's all going okay, but behind the scenes there's a whole lot of chaos and drama, to say the least. And if they leave you, then what do you do? So you've got a half-decent product, it's taking some time, it's doing your head in, and if they leave you, your social media stops. So I guess hence enter the room, Kurious. And I guess that was, what, a year and a bit ago.
Yeah, it's been over a year now.
And at the end of the day, I think that's all there is to it. It's sourced out. We've got a good relationship. I think we're both getting better and better and better at what we're doing. Me as a client, bringing this together, it's evolving.
You know, I even with our own social media and even with yours and other clients, I always get feedback from people outside of those industries or that just see the content, that know that we work with that business, or even for ourselves. and we create that content. And they're saying, you know, you guys must be, you know, in front of the camera every single day, or Sash might be in front of the camera every single day. I said, no, it's just making sure that you've got a plan, you've got the right team to capture the content, produce it. But then there's also the back end side of it that people don't see, is like making sure you've planned out the content well enough and the shoots well enough that you can capture enough content in a period of time, once a week or once a fortnight, where it looks like you're filming every day, but you might be filming once a month or once a fortnight. But you need a professional team that knows what they're doing to be able to do that.
100%. So, you know, prior to you, we did it really well, but the poor person that was involved, they just film us all the time.
Yep.
Then they wouldn't know where to start and cut it.
Yep.
No wonder they kind of had sick days, you know, because their lives were hard. It was hard work.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Got some really cool organic stuff, but the reality is effort out for impact, a lot of like hard work. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, whilst it isn't just doing nothing, like we still have to all do it together, probably not as time consuming, it's streamlined, it's easy, it doesn't become hard. So it's sorted, and it's getting better and better.
And the good thing is, when it's someone besides yourself doing it, I know, like even in my own business where, you know, I might be in front of the camera all the time and I'm not necessarily the person in that team. Like obviously this is what we do, but you know, even when it's externally in other businesses, it's always like, you know, it's not always what you see in front of the camera. It's what goes in before you even get in front of the camera. So it's the plan, it's the preparation, it's the planning, it's the strategy that goes into it. It's the vision of knowing what it's going to look like before it even gets filmed, and what it's going to look like online. So much, but people would just think, oh, just pull out the camera, take some cool content, and it might go viral.
Well, I think you can see that, like, and not to dwell on this, but I watch it now. I watch a lot of people's content, and I see really cool people giving it a go themselves. And the one thing I can see is, was it good to watch? Yes. Did they execute the video good? Yes. Does it all look pretty cool? Yes. But their volume's low because it's too hard. So they've got the right concept, but they're probably behind the scenes going, oh my God, like I posted one reel, just took 7.5 hours. I got the whole team around. We sat and dicked around for the whole day. Then we've had to cut it, morph it, send it overseas, do whatever they've done with it.
And you got one bit of content out of it.
One.
Whereas if you build with the right,
they get 100 views, and they go, fuck this, I can't be bothered anymore.
Correct. And then you might be able to lucky to put out one a month, or one every few weeks. Not worth it.
You either do it or you don't do it. I think it's nice to give it a go.
Yeah.
But I think for any business owner out there that genuinely thinks making content themselves is a great idea, I think they may as well do the quarterly bash statements themselves. They may as well represent themselves in court. They may as well wash their own car, do everything. Like, just do it all. Because and genuinely that's the case. But if there's someone that's open-minded to saying, hey, I want good partners around me, I know my time's important, I know what's productive and what's not, just because you can do it yourself, and it is easy, especially if you're good in front of the camera, it's not worth it.
It really comes back down to knowing your worth.
You have to.
Yeah.
And even if you could do it and have it's just don't bother. Like, spend the time on the beach.
Talking about like all the stresses that come with just one little thing when you think about it, like, which is just social media content, right? Let alone worrying about the BAS and, you know, tax time and, you know, legal matters and all that. How does that all tie in with, like, this is what people kind of really don't want to talk about when it comes to business. Everyone wants to talk about how much money they made, or, you know, maybe they might talk about some of the fuck ups along the way, but no one really talks about how that really impacts your mental health and kind of what toll that plays is like, and what, as a business owner, and what responsibilities you carry as that person that people don't really see. Even though, like, those responsibilities, some of them are really clear and in front of you, like, for example, making sure all your staff are paid, making sure your bills are paid, making sure then you've obviously got, you know, enough money in the bank to keep the thing going. All that stress kind of does take a bit of a toll. And you do have to, I would say, if you're a person that runs a business, especially when it starts going successfully, you've got to have a level of tolerance to stress that probably most people wouldn't have if they were working in a job or working for someone.
Couple of things, like, so mental health.
Yeah.
I reckon we need to talk about that. That's a huge thing. But I think something I picked up by listening to you was, you know what makes it shit tons harder is trying to do it all yourself. Like, imagine sitting there, one man band. You're doing the accounting, you're washing your car because it's dirty, you're doing your own social media, you're trying to sell stuff, you're cranking the spanner, or you're selling the car, or you're selling the property, or you're listing. You're doing all of this shit yourself, from the accounting through the marketing, through the letterbox drops, whatever it might be. Like, that would add to the mental health problem.
Definitely.
So it's interesting because I guess when we're under pressure, and I guess this is my experience, instantly I work out, how do I minimize my costs and somehow pull myself out of this jam? You know, that's our default under pressure. It's like, fuck, okay, saving money. How do I do it myself? Is there anything I can do myself a bit better? That's, I guess, a horrible place to be. Ideally, I think as we grow a business, how to minimize stress and drama is to create a sustainable business. So when I'm making decisions, I have 1 foot in today and 1 foot in tomorrow. Is this viable and sustainable for me for the next 5 years? Doing social myself, doing the letterbox drops myself, knocking on the doors myself, doing the accounting myself. It's not sustainable. I'm gonna have a mental breakdown and burn out somewhere along the way. So the biggest problem, though, if it was that easy, was I've got an unlimited amount of money in the bank. So I can get a Charles and his team, I can get people to do this, I can get employees all around me. So let's say that was the magical wand you had, and you had a shitload of cash and unlimited funds and resources. Even in that stage, we can still have the day-to-day runnings and stress of dealing with people, financials up and downs, wins and losses, people not coming in, people leaving you, disgruntled employees, hiring staff, firing staff, conflict at work, clients upset, not having the capacity, not having the resources, all of the other moving parts, suppliers letting you down, and all of that shit spinning on a daily basis. And that's apart from the financial woes. And I think, but when you pinpoint it, probably most of it's financial. I think financial causes a bit of pain, but there's also all these other moving parts. And I guess there's enough running a business to really make you question, well, why am I doing this in the first place? And I think depending on how you are mentally, it's a big important.
Yeah, I definitely think your tolerance to stress needs to be at a much higher level than it would otherwise. I also feel that what also helps with all those stresses and those moving cogs, like you said, is back to what we spoke about earlier about really being sold on that mission. If you're really sold on what you do, for example, like what we do, right? I'll use us as an example. Our mission is to help as many small businesses grow and thrive in a very competitive market, no matter what industry they're in.
Yeah.
Right. So when we see our clients win and we see people succeed and we see them, you know, because we understand those pains. So it's like when we can see people say, when we can see people say like, oh, you know, like I need more business through the door, and we help them do that, and we be able to see them then win and grow their businesses. Like that in itself is worth all the stress that comes with what we do. Yeah. And just like yourself, you know, when you see someone, I can imagine when you see someone, you know, come to you and say, Sash, this is where I want to go. This is where I am. I've got no idea how to get there. This is probably one of the biggest financial commitments I'm going to make in my life, where, you know, selling my family home, uprooting my whole family and going somewhere else. How the fuck do I do it without running out of money, getting the financing, making sure that I don't have to pay the tax man so much money that I've got no money left to buy a family home or whatever it might be.
Avoiding all those roadblocks.
Correct.
Hurdles.
Yeah. Yeah. So like when you're able to then facilitate that and see, I can imagine when you're able to facilitate that process and seeing the client get where they need to go, and then it's fulfilling. That's the fulfillment part of the job.
There's two parts there, and I think as a business owner, I guess you got two goals. Well, this is personally, but again, listening to you, it helps me clarify some stuff. So I'm in business to create a lifestyle for myself and my family that I want, and make sure that I could continue to create that for them and myself forever, even potentially without me being involved. So that's why I do it. It's made a lot easier, like you, when you find something you're doing on a day-to-day basis that you're passionate about, that gives you a reward, seeing people happy, helping them through something that you're good at, helping them through, providing a service that's rewarding and fulfilling and helps people get what they want. That's enjoyable. So I think you've got two moving motivations. You've got, well, why am I really doing this? Because for me personally, like not being, I think I used to tell people what I thought they wanted to hear in relation to my values. I don't do what I'm doing to make sure that people sell their houses for maximum money, get where they want to go, and I go, wow, that was so warm and fuzzy for me. I do what I do. I've chosen that because I enjoy it, but I do what I do. I run this business and I'm trying to grow this to create a lifestyle for me and my family that takes away financial insecurity, that gives me freedom of choice on a day-to-day basis. You know, that's kind of... That makes sense.
No, it does. And it definitely, I can imagine as time progressed from when you were 20 years old, the reason that you did it obviously has changed a lot, like we said before. You probably just wanted the flashy car.
I want a nice car, cash.
Yeah.
Go get a trophy girlfriend of some kind, have a few. And that was it.
And
I don't even have a vision then. I think it was pride and ego.
Yeah.
And I don't think if you'd asked me why I want to make money, I could have told you. Wouldn't have had any idea. It was a good idea.
And it probably, if it was, it probably would have been just attached to some kind of, some kind of
bullshit
object like a car or...
Yeah, but that takes time in itself.
Yeah.
But I honestly do think if someone had sat me down when I was 21, and said, or maybe you, and sat you in a room and said, don't leave the room until you worked out what you want in life.
I would have fucking been there a very long time.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Like I still work on that shit and it takes me hours.
Yeah.
I had my daughter the other day. Do you know where you're going and what you want? Come up with a plan. No one wants to sit down and plan anything.
No. Tell me a bit about how like it relates to the stresses and those responsibilities of being a business owner. That's what I said. Like, I get like, the family component is one part of it where you want to ensure that you create a life for your family. But then it's like all those auxiliary responsibilities that come with that, whether it's like, if you're, especially when you're trying to do things the right way, servicing your clients, making sure that you've fulfilled their needs in that manner. But then also like, you've got responsibilities even to your staff. Like it's not just your family you've got to worry about now. It's like almost you've got this extended family now that, it's like, oh, well, we've got to make sure that we make enough money to then, pay everybody and pay ourselves and make sure that everyone's looked after at the end of the week. So, that in itself, whether people are thinking about it directly or subconsciously, like it's definitely a stress that most or all business owners would go through.
Mate, I think it starts right at the start. So mental health, self-awareness, understanding, ourselves, myself, you understanding yourself. This has been a journey since the day you're born.
Correct.
The things I can handle today, there's no way I could have handled last year. I think you push yourself, and especially when you are in that growth mindset, you are trying to get better and better every day. You're pushing yourself. You're constantly looking at what went wrong, why it went wrong, can I improve, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You start to expose yourself to bigger risk, bigger drama. It doesn't have to be that way, but that's like a muscle that does grow. And it does grow. That's probably the only muscle that I've currently growing as opposed to you, Charles. But like the reality is, mental health, that is probably the deal breaker for most people in career and business. And I've had it myself. You know, I used to drink a shitload. I used to get home, fuck, I'm stressed, and I used to drink. You know, I don't drink. I haven't had a drink in over 10 years because at the end of the day, that does nothing good for you. You need to learn how to manage stress without a third,
Without
you don't have to do anything. You know what? I shouldn't say that. My suggestion would be if you have to have a drink to unwind, there's something going on.
there's something deeper that needs to be attended to.
And I'm not saying I'm totally stress free. You know, I work with a mentor. I'll be open and honest with you. Like once a month, I catch up with someone that's a professional. Whether you want to call it a psychiatrist, psychologist, counselor, whatever you want to call them, catch up with them once a month because you know what? Something I've learned in life is you don't want to be that guy or girl that goes to get help when you're already here rock bottom. You get yourself to a nice level and you maintain it. Talking to someone about mental health, talking to someone about the business, all of these things. I've got a team behind me.
It's definitely important. Like people always look at their physical fitness, but your mental fitness is so much more important.
But they don't have a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say that, you know, I'm definitely far from totally sane, right? We've all got our issues. Mental health for me, it's a battle. It's always been a battle. You know, I've had that dark cloud follow me around for my whole life. So I think long story short is,
you have to look after yourself mentally.
You do.
As much as you do physically.
You also, I think, you know, if I look at the people that have, and including myself, if I'm going to make or break this business, my mental health and my ability to regulate stress and catastrophize and think the worst or think the best is all mental health related. So I think whether you can or you can't do something, it all comes down to what's going on in you.
Definitely.
So it's probably the most important bit.
Definitely. And I think on that note, thanks for coming in today, Sash, and telling us a lot about yourself and, you know, and giving the audience I guarantee a lot of lessons. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, bro.